Welcome to this episode of Sunny's Silver Linings. Sunny's guest today is Sean Harris, CEO and Head of Cybersecurity at A Leap Ahead IT. With 20 plus years of MSP industry experience, Sean knows how to transform an MSP from a mess to the best. He also shares with us some incredible advice on how to start, build, manage, and transform a company into a successful and profitable business from the ground up. And now, your host, the founder and CEO of IT by Design, Mr. Sunny Kaila. Over to you, Sunny.
Sean, thank you so much for coming and taking the time to be my guest at this podcast. And I truly appreciate your partnership. And thank you for your partnership and thank you for being here.
Well, thank you, Sunny, for having me. I think this is fantastic. It's great to be able to have some time to chat together.
Yeah, and so when I was talking to you prior to this podcast, and you have an amazing journey, amazing entrepreneurial journey, and I would love to learn a little bit more about your entrepreneurial journey. And you have a great background with your kind of teaching cybersecurity bootcamp at UC Davis, and having your bachelor's done from the California State University in 2005, and then 2011 your master's, and the lifelong learning that we can see in the journey as well. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey?
Yeah, I went to school and got a bachelor's, and I went back and got my master's, and I was doing my master's when I bought the business. But I've always had a passion for technology. When I, prior to joining the business that I own now, I had actually gotten loans when I was about 16. I remember having to have my stepdad co-sign for the loan at a local credit union to be able to get the funds together to build a computer for an engineer that worked at Pac Bell. Pac Bell had decided that all their engineers were subcontractors. I think it was a move for financial reasons, and I think they got their hands slapped later for that. But at that time, they all had to have computers, and they didn't know how to build their own computers, so I went and built a bunch of them.
Very nice, very nice. And now you have the finance. So when you talk about like having that finance understanding and having the business understanding and having that technology aptitude, that's a very powerful combination to be successful as an entrepreneur. Your name, your company name, your MSP name is very interesting. A Leap Ahead IT. Can you talk to me a little bit about the name?
Sure. Yeah. So, we wanted to change our name. We had been with the franchise. We decided to go away from the franchise. This is before I purchased the company. And so that included us all trying to think of names. And that's not as easy as you think it is unless you go and hire someone to just do it for you, right? And so we ended up with A Leap Ahead IT because we wanted to be in the front of the yellow pages, which I think, or the white pages, which is no longer a thing, and nobody cares about that anymore. And we wanted frogs as part of that, but it's worked out well for us. We have the ALA IT now is the short version of that. And it's funny because we use the as long as it takes. We'll be here to make it work until as long as it takes, ALA IT. But the frogs as a logo has really helped us. I remember when I first took over the company, I was thinking about changing the name, mostly because I saw all the cool names of the other MSPs, and I wanted to be expert pro, IT or anything like that. And I remember a marketer, I had more than one marketer take me aside at different conferences and say that they really loved my name because they just could do so much with it. It was just so different than the other tech companies, which were all very similar. And not to say there's anything against that. I think you can definitely differentiate yourself through many different means. But for us, the name is an easy lead-in.
Yeah, it's a very unique name. So my next question is, what is unique about your business that your clients will normally share with you? What differentiates you? There are so many MSPs. What makes you different? What makes you unique?
What's helped us a lot is implementing different things that many places have, but it's one thing to say that you buy the tool, and it's another thing to say that you properly implemented it. We've won a couple decent sized contracts because I think the buzzword is boutique, or I think the idea is we adapt very well to the client. And so, and I know that there are people listening to this going, no, how do you standardize all your clients if you're adapting to a client? And I think, it's a case by case basis. So what makes us unique may not make us unique in the future. But our competitive advantages right now are, we offer a level of support and understanding that's beyond the average other MSP, at least in our area. And we do that through education, but we also have a lot of feedback tools where we learn a lot, and we have a lot of internal meetings. And I know I've watched a lot of your other podcasts, Sunny. They're great. And I know a lot of them talk about traction. We utilize traction in EOS also. So, I think a lot of what we're doing doesn't necessarily differentiate us. It's the actual way that we do it and the fortitude through it.
You always talk about journey versus destination. That journey is as important as destination. Can you please talk to me about that thought? Can you share your insights there?
Sure. I think so. One might call me a seagull CEO, and I've done my best not to be that. But that's where, especially if I go to a conference or something, I buy everything, fly in and drop it on all my people, and then fly off. Figure it out, guys. And so that's no good, right? And it's always that feeling of, oh, this one tool will fix our problem. If only we had this implemented, everything will be better. And the interesting thing is as you grow, if that's what you want to do, right? And that's an important part of running a business, is deciding what you want to do. But as you grow, the problems change. Like, you're never there. You never arrive. There's always issues. And that's part of what we get to see as IT working with other organizations, is that, we get to see insight into all those organizations like you do. You get to see an amazing number of things. And so we get to see that, oh, shoot, they're also dealing with this, or yeah, this is now, and sometimes we have world changes that cause all of a sudden, okay, let's all figure out how to work remotely.
Yeah.
But really it's all kinds of things that every business has. And so I think having the growth mindset, which is an interesting mindset to be in, sometimes it can be where you have a feeling of falling, like it's this general feeling of you're maybe not adequate. Like, there's all these things that you have to deal with your team. They might have imposter syndrome. There's all these different things.
Yeah.
And it's important that you address those and you tell them and give them good feedback, and then make sure that they understand that, obviously reprimand them or write up a PIP or something, or an action plan if they're not doing the right thing. But, the growth mindset I had to learn doesn't mean we're constantly all sprinting all the time, right? And I think a lot of people came through a lot of sprints in COVID, right? Where we're now starting to catch our breath, and people are moving jobs and things because they waited and they couldn't do anything during that time. So it doesn't mean we're constantly sprinting. We still have to celebrate the wins, but that's, more of finding the wins, not at the destination, but along as you go, and then making sure that people are doing the things that they're passionate and they love. And I think that's just true of life, really, if you think about it. I know that as a father of a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, people will go, I love how other parents will come up and say, cherish that time right now.
Yeah.
Because then at this, they're not as, they're a little crazy. And then you'll get to the next one, and the next one people will go, well, cherish that time, because then at this time they go off. And so in that case, there is no destination. It's the journey with your family, with your children. It's the same thing with your employees and your business.
Yeah, so journey, not destination. And so, we have a very similar culture here, Sean, when you say growth mindset, when you say celebrate your wins, we are very intentional about starting our mornings with a positive quote, to just positive focus, just everyone during our morning huddles. And we were talking about EOS, we use EOS here as well. So our meeting rhythm, 10, 15 minutes, every department will have that huddle, and we start with a positive focus. And we always ask our team to learn, right? So either we are in a learning team or winning team. We're never in a losing team. And having that growth mindset, having that understanding, that journey, right, and having that little bit of progress, not perfection, and having that gain focus rather than gap hunting focus as a team, it really keeps things positive, and your overall culture and environment is that learning and growing and making progress. You will always be moving forward as a team, and really give that experience to each other that we all need as human beings, because no one wants to come to work on Monday morning in a negative environment, right, Sean? Like when we come in it's leaders role to make sure that your people want to come on Monday morning, and the way they feel on Friday, they feel the same way coming to kind of work in the morning, and that will come from that positivity, that growth mindset, and progress, not perfection, and gain, not gap. And we got to be just intentional and keep feeding our mind with that mantra, so that we lead well and our teams can lead themselves well as well. So thank you so much for sharing. And one thing that you mentioned, you pay a lot of attention to education. You invest time in your people, and in terms of their learning and development and growth mindset environment that you create. So what are you doing so special there that we can learn from you?
Well, we've had our own growing pains where we fall behind on that, and we have to get back on it. And that's part of the consistent thing that all organizations have, where they have to deal with these organic growth issues. We're back in a cycle again, coming back on top of it. But what we've done in the past and what we do today are, we have roadmaps with our employees. We have online training that they get a part of. They get to be a part of industry-leading online training. We send them to conferences. We have, if they're unable to do a ticket and they need to escalate a ticket, we'll have a shadowing ticket where they get shadowed with another technician. And then they get to learn how to do that, as long as it's within their tier of service, right, of what they should be learning. Those are all pretty big things, having conversations with the human being and asking them, truthfully, do you like doing this, and what is it that you prefer to do, and figuring out if there's a seat on the bus that fits them well after they've had a year under their belt, after they've had some time in the organization to understand what's going on. Mm-hmm. That's been a big one. And I think that's, to go back to what you said earlier, that's been some of our success with ITBD, is that, from the very beginning, before the COVID time, we had the resources that you provide, and we've treated them very much like a part of our staff. And that includes putting them on, originally we had them on monitors in our office. And I remember my own people going, that's a little creepy. And I went, yeah, but you're here, right? And they're here too. And now we're all here, and we can all collaborate like we would in the same room. And now none of them say that, because we're all doing it remotely. So, it all came to fruition. But I think the big thing is listening to the individuals and making sure that they get what they need. And sometimes what they need, and, I've said this in other talks that I've, other conversations like this, but sometimes what they need will grow them out of your organization. Yeah. And that's okay. It's about getting them at the time that they're in growth and they're learning. That's the best time you can get anybody. And I always just tell them, at the end of whatever period of time that you're here, and I hope it's many, many years, Alipa Head IT is going to be better off, and you're going to be better off. Both entities will have a very positive feeling about it. And we've had nothing but that, with people. And so I've had some people leave and go to competitors. I've had some people leave and go to state. And I was very proud of them. And I felt very happy that they were here and they got over to here. And I just tell them, it's an elevator. You choose where you want to get off in the learning. And if this is what you want to do for your life, that's a very good part of being happy in life, is figuring out where you want to be. That's one of the big points.
Yeah, no, good to know that you invest in people, in their growth, and you have their growth roadmaps or career roadmaps defined, and you kind of help them grow and do better in life. Now, did anything change? So I know, like when we talk about our best partners, partners that are really, really successful in this engagement, is when they work with us like one team. And you gave an example of having that TV in your probably bullpen where other people were, and then creating that experience is just, we are kind of one team. So wonderful to know that. And my question now is, in terms of education and the way you will shadow your mentor or that buddy system that you can create by having one person learn from the other, how did that change in the new norm when people are working remotely? So in terms of, for example, at IT by Design, Sean, we were doing like Friday lunch and learns every single Friday. It was in our conference room here in Jersey City. But now we had to pivot and everything is Zoom. So we still do that, but it's Zoom. But some things can be probably easily accomplished internally. So did anything change? And if yes, how are you making sure that your education effectiveness for your staff is still really, really working right now with the people working from home?
Well, I think what differentiates a boutique organization like mine against maybe a large organization, and I hope many large organizations have learned to be nimble now, so they have subunits and they do this, is the idea that we don't know what we're doing. We have a good framework and we all have the principles that we live by and we work by. And on a day-to-day basis, we're figuring out, is what we're doing right now towards those principles? And so during COVID, we had a lot of changes and we'd have to kind of review it on a weekly basis and go, is this working or is this, and we went to like a lot of meetings, which I think a lot of organizations did, way too many meetings. And then we kind of started bringing it back. And then we came to the conclusion, you know what, we really like a daily meeting. We didn't do a daily meeting before. Now we have a couple daily meetings. We have daily meetings for different departments every day. And we didn't necessarily do that before. I think they would huddle maybe, and that didn't help for remote people. And, we still have the level 10 on Fridays, but we've actually found we don't need the whole hour and a half anymore because a lot of the IDS has been figured out in prior meetings. And then we've got tools and things too that we've been using throughout the, COVID to try to figure it out. So I think the key is just to be nimble and to have good feedback loops. And I think sometimes when someone comes in from a larger organization and they come into an MSP, they feel like everything's crazy. Like it's not anything similar to working at the state, because at the state, they have the specific section of one widget that their IT is a little different. IT gets a little wider view, but, and here it's kind of like a lot of people wear a lot of different hats and we're scrappy, I think is the term I've heard.
Yeah, no, that is, so education, even in the new norm, is so critical. That's how people will, because especially in technology, the technology changes almost every day. And if you're not learning and growing and create those structures and systems to help our people grow, then we will not be winning in the new environment. And as our founding father, Benjamin Franklin, said, an investment in education always pays the best interest, right? So that is, education is so critical. And no one probably does that or understand that more than you, Sean, because not only you have gone back to college to finish your master's, but now you are an instructor at UC Davis. And that means education, your learning quotient or kind of really sharing that knowledge is really high. And can you tell me, why did you go back to teach cybersecurity bootcamp at UC Davis?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Some of the things that I've done, people from the outside have went, why are you doing that? Before going back to teach at UC Davis. So this is the extension, the UC Davis extension, and it's a 6-month boot camp, and it's 3 days a week. So it's certain nights during the week and then Saturdays. I'm starting my 3rd cohort here pretty soon. Prior to doing this, I went and I got my my MCSE in Advanced Server Security. Because I always wanted that ever since I first was in IT. I wanted to finish the MCSE. I got my CISP, which is a very high level security certification. and I got my PMP, Project Management Professional, which are all pretty high level certifications. And I remember there were other people in those classes, and we'd ask, well, one of them I just studied for, but another one I took a class through the local PMI Institute chapter. And, every different person had a different reason that they were there. And some of them were getting raises because they were doing it paid to be there. And they go, why are you here? And I went, well, I'm not going to give myself a raise when I'm done. Like, I'm here because I just want to learn. And I actually feel like I'm weak in project management. I want to get better at it. And I wanted people to know that I've done that. And so therefore I'm doing this. So with the UC Davis boot camp, it's offensive hacking. We do Metasploit. We're using a lot of Linux. We're setting up Elk servers. There's all kinds of stuff that I had dabbled with before, but not at a level that I could possibly teach it to someone else. So I think it's really helped me get stronger. And I think that it's important. And I think my clients want to know that whoever's their trusted advisor at my organization, which is me right now, which will probably change as we grow, that they're constantly keeping on top of this stuff. So it's helped me quite a bit. It's also helped me consistently in sales and prospecting meetings. It's helped me. We've hired several people from the cohorts. So we have great employees that I get to see for 6 months prior to offering them a job, right? So that's been really neat. All that's been great. I was able to connect a student with a vendor that we utilize in the HIPAA space. And that was a life-changing event for the student. So to me, it's part of growing and fostering human, interaction and growth. And it's really helped me. And it helps that in COVID, I didn't know how it would work to do it all remotely, but who doesn't want to just walk upstairs at their house and people have to listen to them.
No, it's so as B and I will say, it's giver's gain, or that go-giver's spirit is so it just kind of at the end of the day, you will be taken care of if you are helping others. And the field you have chosen is cybersecurity, which is need of the hour. It is one of those things that all small businesses needs to be intentional about, making sure that they're safeguarding their databases, their mission critical servers and networks and information that they store. And you being the trusted advisor in MSP and keeping yourself up to date with the cybersecurity, that's so wonderful to know. And you can't give what you don't have. In order to give someone something, you got to first of all acquire that. So I'm sure when you're going there to these classes and teaching, you are doing a lot of research and a lot of learning, because cybersecurity landscape is keep changing every single day, and there's some new threats almost every single day. So you have to stay on top of things, and that means you are giving a lot of that that kind of education to the knowledge workers. And helping them change their lives, because now if they are cybersecurity experts, their overall, they can create a lot more value nowadays in the IT sector. And not only that it helps you probably, right? So that having that go-giver's spirit is really, really important. And I'm so glad that you're doing it and making a difference there. So thank you so much for sharing. Can you talk to me about what kind of professionals you hire? What is at the top of Sean's assessment list when he is interviewing people?
Sure. So we do the basic funneling down from many applications to a few, right? And we have a process for that. And then we have to do some background checks. That's important too. We do DISC, personality testing. So we have certain profiles that we look for specific positions, though that doesn't necessarily mean that they wouldn't get the position if they're not that exact profile, but it's part of additional insight into how they might fit well. So we hire on personality more than anything else. IT field is full of people that are really smart, but not really personable. I've seen it change quite a bit in the last, 5-10 years, but where you're getting some very well-rounded people in the industry, but you still have that person that, has to be the smartest person in the room, or doesn't understand the point of the conversation. The customer service conversation is to make that person happy, not to be right, or not to, there's all these things. So that's the biggest way. It's the most important factor that we use is personality. We attempt to do that through a series of interviews combined with a DISC personality test.
Yeah, so from when you look at the personality testing and you look at your core values, or what do you really hire for, is there anything important to you when you hire people in terms of core values?
Sure. Yeah, we have our permission to play values, and then we have our aspirational values. But I think that, and we constantly review and change that, and we're doing that again this year, especially if we've had new people come in, because we want them to be a part of creating that. We want them to own it and understand it. But we actually, for support desk people, we look for a high S, high C, because we want them to be very concise with their documentation. We want them to be supportive, and that's important. For salespeople, high I with some D is good, because they have to be able to get to a decision, but they should want to be liked, and they want, those kind of things. It depends on the position, of course. Anybody in a management position, if they don't have a high D, they probably they might need some management or leadership training.
Mm-hmm. So you use DISC, right?
Yeah. That's our main go-to.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good. Yeah, we use DISC, or used to. Now we use Colby and Patterson Center's or Eagle Center, Dr. Larry Little's personality evaluations as well, where you have like monkey, lion type of those 4 different animals. So we use that in our hiring process as well. And it's what you said earlier, that you hire people where they don't want to be the smartest in the room, because that was one issue that I experienced especially a few years ago when we were doing a lot of so one example that I still remember is VMware. This guy is so smart in cloud computing, especially VMware, but kind of really having him part of any team was a challenge, because he always thought he is the most technical person. And when you talk about personality and not, it's just I'm going to be the smartest, or I cannot learn from anyone else. And as they say, if you are the smartest person in the room, you are in the wrong room. And so we started evaluating that a little bit more in terms of people where they're open to learn and really learn from other people's failures and mistakes, that they don't learn by making mistakes, and where they are open to perspectives, they are open to different, like just seeing strengths in every single person in the team. So we pay a lot of attention there as well. And I'm glad that in your hiring process, you have that at the top of your list as well. Can you talk to me a little bit about what do you mean by smartest person in the room, Sean?
Well, I think you actually hit on it well in the last section that we were chatting. I think oftentimes our natural instinct is to promote technicians up to management positions, and that may or may not be a good fit. And most people will, what do they say, promote to incompetence? Like that's a thing that you'll end up doing. But most people, if you throw more money or title at them, they're going to take it. That's something that they're going to do, but it may not be the right thing for them. And so that's a lot of the training that we have to do is how to not be the smartest person in the room, how to understand that it's your team. And if you're the one doing or solving things, you don't have a good team, and that you need to train that team better or bring more people into the team. And so to kind of go back to the beginning, when I talked about that I had a drinking issue, right, where I had a DUI, I looked at my family, and I'm Irish Scottish, and we're full of people that I had a great grandfather who had a stroke. He was an everyday drinker, had a stroke, and I only remember him as a child as someone that couldn't even really speak, And so I had to look at myself and evaluate, how do I want my future to be? And I decided I don't need to ever drink again. And that was something that I had to decide to do. And and it changed my life forever. And so I've had things like that throughout my business where I had a time where I could see security was going to be a really big deal. And I felt like I was not doing everything that my clients thought that I was doing. And I think there's a lot of MSPs, in that position. And so, and at the same time, I had this company, this national company, knocking on my door to buy my company. They wanted to buy Leap Ahead IT. And I thought, well, I guess I'm just going to go out. And so I had to come to this conclusion that, I forget the exact term, but, you either have to shrink your dreams or you have to grow yourself. Like you have to do something. There's a choice there. And if you don't make the choice, it still gets made for you. And so I was someone that always wanted to be the smartest person in the room too, to go back to what we're talking about. And so that's part of getting to that place with that employee or whoever it is and seeing if they're trainable. And that is, if they're going to be in leadership or management of, what you think you're achieving on a daily basis, what was causing your success internally was solving problems. But now that you're management, it's not just about solving technical problems. It's now about managing people and helping those people grow. And you need to kind of shift your mindset to that. And so I think our world is full of entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurs are many different kinds. And one thing I did find is that drinking is a real big issue in entrepreneurship. I think because we can make our own hours if we want. And it's very stressful. It's a stressful job. And I think it's not just that, it's many other things. It's people being workaholics, people being, I know some people that get to positive ones where they're fitness nuts. And I think those are all good as long as you're making the right decision. And so I think that's what it's about, is taking a moment to figure out, where do I want to be and how am I going to get there? And being realistic with yourself in this moment right now of, who am I?
Yeah.
And that's what we try to do with our people when we're hiring them. And that's the important factor of getting them from sometimes the tunnel mindset of someone that just works a job to someone that's a part of the growth and the leadership and the education and all the beautiful things that grow a great business. And we've been very lucky to have some pretty amazing people. And you've provided amazing people too. I've had conversations like that with people that I remember during it was like April in COVID, and you called me personally, which I was just floored by. And it was later in the night for me, and I was still at our largest client. And you wanted to let me know, first, thank you for being a partner, which you always say, which I really appreciate. And you also said, I just want to let you know that one of your resources is going to be honored, and we're doing that tomorrow. And it just warmed my heart. And you know what? It turned my whole head around in that moment. And it's those little things that we all do together to make for a much better journey, because it's not the destination, it's the journey.
So, Sean, thank you so much for coming to my podcast. I really, really appreciate you. I really appreciate your partnership. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming and joining me today.
Thanks, Sunny. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it too.